In hockey terms, a wagon is a team that is rolling and can't be stopped, and that describes our Boston Bruins after back-to-back wins over the weekend, improving their overall record to 14-2 and their home record to a perfect 9-0-0. Going to break down the games against the Buffalo Sabres and the Vancouver Canucks and bring you all the latest on the Boston Bruins here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Monday, November 14th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. The podcast is free and available everywhere, so please do open up your favorite podcast app, go to YouTube, search up Locked On Bruins, smash that subscribe button, and never miss a thing. For those of you on Twitter and Instagram, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, and hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. I am a lifelong Bruins fan. I've been covering this team for various outlets for about 17 years, and have never witnessed a start quite like this for our Boston Bruins. Of course, they played 2 games over the weekend in Buffalo, beating the Sabres on Saturday night, and then they traveled home to beat the Canucks last night. Let's begin Saturday in Buffalo, where Keith Kinkaid got the start for the Boston Bruins and was integral in beating the Buffalo Sabres, keeping the Bruins in it early as the Sabres were on the attack for much of the first 2 periods. And first, Keith Kinkaid earning Big Bear of the Night honors after making 30 saves in the win to preserve Boston's stellar record to begin the season. Jim Montgomery, after the game, credited the team's depth for their success, crediting also pro scouts who went out and signed Keith Kinkaid for some insurance in net following Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman on the depth chart. Swayman, of course, injured at the moment. Keith Kinkaid, after the game, said, I did all right, I guess. Kind of joking. That's an understatement. He made 30 saves on 31 shots in his Bruins regular season debut, giving Linus Ullmark a bit of a breather on the first game in a back-to-back situation. He said his mindset, just do whatever it takes to keep the puck out. He did allow 1 goal on a complete breakdown from the 5-forward power play unit. Shorthanded goal scored by Tage Thompson, but they prevailed in the end, and he said he just wanted to give his team a shot. And they did the rest. They played a bit lackadaisical through the first 40 minutes, came alive when it mattered most, and got the victory thanks to Patrice Bergeron. He scored 2 goals in the win. First came on the power play with about a minute to go in the second period to tie things up at 1. His second goal was the result of an incredible tic-tac-toe sequence from Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak that included some mid-air juggling and finished with Bergeron whacking it home on a one-timer. He now, up to that point, he had 7 goals and 7 assists for 14 points to begin the season. That was before last night's game in a win over the Canucks. The other big part of Saturday's game was Jakub Zboril scoring his first NHL goal. It was the game winner, giving the Bruins the 2-1 lead with 7 minutes remaining in the third period. Came on a great pass from Tomas Nosek, put a rocket over Sabres goaltender Craig Anderson's glove, and afterwards he said he felt good and bad. Didn't think he deserved it that night, but he waited long enough for it and feels really good to finally be rewarded. Being out there every single night, earning the trust of the coach is very important to him. And, not quite sure why he said he didn't think he deserved it on that one. Maybe he thought he's had better shots in the past, but found its way into the back of the net. And Jakub Zboril finally getting on the board with his first NHL goal. He's got more goals than Matt Barzal at this point in the season. So that's a little hat tip to the 2015 draft, although, of course, Barzal does have something like 15 or 16 assists so far this season. So that was the story in Saturday's game. Keith Kinkaid stood tall, kept the Bruins in it when the Sabres were really attacking, especially through the first 40 minutes. Bergeron ties it up late in the second. Zboril with the game winner. Icing on the cake was that beautiful play from Marchand to Pastrnak, who juggled it in midair. Bergeron with the finish. More importantly, there was the reunification of the Bruins top line, which carried over to Sunday's game against the Vancouver Canucks. Coming up, we're going to talk about that game, as well as discuss what's next for the Boston Bruins. But this episode is brought to you in part by Simply Safe. With the holidays coming up, you want to make sure that your home is safe and secure. Maybe you're going out of town. Maybe you're got some valuables that you want to protect. And over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike nationally. That's why our friends at Simply Safe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system, so that more families like yours can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your Simply Safe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from Simply Safe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system I recommend. Get 50% off any new Simply Safe system at simplysafe.com/LockedOnNHL today. It's their biggest discount of the year, so do not wait. That's simplysafe.com/LockedOnNHL. There's simply no safe like Simply Safe. Thank you again for making Locked On Bruins part of your day today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. That's Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get podcasts. So the Bruins on Saturday, using their third string goalie, not the most inspiring performance early on, but they came through, and that's what winning teams do. They beat the teams that they're supposed to with whoever they have at their disposal. Keith Kinkaid, won't be relied on very heavily, but he stepped up when he needed to, and the Bruins got the win there. Sunday, back at home, beating the Vancouver Canucks in convincing fashion, a 5-2 victory. And The Black and Gold have now won 9 consecutive games on home ice to start the season. It's the longest such streak in Boston hockey history. Just 3 wins of tying the NHL record for most home wins to start a season. You know, this team's been around for almost 100 years. The first time they've won 9 consecutive games on home ice to start a season. Tomas Nosek, who buried an empty netter to score his first goal in 66 regular season games dating back to January 2nd, said, "It says a lot about this team. 9-0 start at TD Garden, the best in team history, and for a historic team, an original 6 team, it says a lot about this group. He's proud to be part of it and trying to enjoy the moment with the guys." Nosek was notable not just for scoring that goal, but also for stepping up when David Pastrnak was hit hard by Kyle Burroughs of the Vancouver Canucks. Nosek expressed his displeasure, tackled Burroughs to the ice, kind of had a bit of a fight. There were no real punches thrown, but he was assessed his first career fighting major, as well as a 2-minute minor for instigating and a 10-minute misconduct. Nosek after the game said, "Pasternak's my friend. He's my teammate. He's our star. That's what makes us a good team. We step up and play for each other. Doesn't matter who it is. I was there, so I did the job." Tomas Nosek in this game earning Big Bear of the Night honors from myself, and he was also showered with praise by his teammates after the game as well. Bergeron said he's been playing great hockey all year. To get rewarded like that with the goal, everybody knew it was weighing on him. It's always nice to get that one behind you and look forward. Again, even though it was an empty netter on the scoreboard, it counts as a goal, and the guys were happy for him afterwards, and they were also proud of him for stepping up for his teammate, and something they all recognize when it happens and appreciate. Hampus Lindholm said Nosek has been a key player on this team. Every night he brings it. So fun to see him go out there and stand up for Pasta and then also get the goal. Zaka, who scored a goal of his own, added, "Nosek played a great game. A lot of chances the last couple games, so it's great for him to get on the board." And again, seeing him fight just really gave everybody a boost. Montgomery echoed the guy, saying he's been tremendous for the Bruins all year long. One of the big reasons why the Bruins penalty kill unit is number 1 in the league. He's a big part of it, him and Charlie Coyle up front. You could tell the bench was really excited for him getting that goal. Everybody was rubbing his head and yelling his name when he scored the goal. He sacrifices a lot for the team. Bit of a microcosm of what the team is. They play for each other really well. Him jumping in right away. He's not a guy who fights, but these guys don't want to see anyone take advantage of their teammates, and that's a great quality to have in a teammate. He knows it's not his main job to score goals. He's a 4th-line center. His main value to the team is that penalty killing, checking role, but it's important to chip in every once in a while. He said it was sometimes frustrating, but he's always tried to keep his head in the game, focus on his game. Now that this drought is over, he's glad it's over. Nosek became the 20th different goal scorer for the Bruins this season, which is a real testament to their depth. Everybody is cheering for one another. No one's worried about what they're not getting or what they're missing out on. And that's why it's a special group, Montgomery said. They've had success because it's more the attitude than structure and X's and O's. Just all hands on deck and everybody out there doing what they can to get the win. That was echoed by Pavel Zacha, who buried the third goal of the season. His third goal of the season, the Bruins' third goal of the game to get the game winner. Put the Bruins up 3-1 at that point. He said there's great leadership in the locker room and relationships with the coaches. And they just have to keep playing the same way and keep getting better. Bergeron, again, it's a special group. We have to keep that going. Still early in the season. They continually talk about the process, about building their game, and have to continue to keep doing that. Great start for the season, but it goes beyond that. They're not looking ahead to the playoffs per se, but they are trying to build each and every night so that they can sustain this success. Bergeron admitted there's some areas they have to be better and keep working on. Teams are going to be ready for them and expecting big games out of them. So they have to come out with that same mentality every single night. Lindholm recorded his second 3-assist game of the season. Just an unreal pace. He's among the league leaders in scoring among defensemen. Taking that learning mindset as well. They didn't have the best start in Buffalo. Tonight they came out hard, learning from those little things. It's a long season, and you have to just continually motivate yourself to get up for each and every game. I said on Twitter last night that it's no longer a case of the Bruins having a good start. The Bruins are legit good. Yes, some of their competition recently has been, outside of the playoff mix, and they're going to have a difficult schedule coming up. But they're getting the job done with the opportunities provided them on the schedule. There's only, they can't make their schedule. They can't mix in more difficult teams. They will get some challenges on the schedule coming up. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But for the time being, the Bruins are the number one team in the NHL. 16 games played, a 14-2 record, 875 point percentage, a plus 30 goal differential. Those are all number one in the NHL. When it comes to goals for per game, they rank first. 4 goals per game they're averaging. They're allowing only 2.19 goals per game, which is fewest in the NHL. Their power play ranks 7th. Penalty kill ranks number 1. So, Jim Montgomery doing something right here with the Boston Bruins, and their underlying numbers also are encouraging. I mean, they do not have many weaknesses at the moment. No, they're not going to be above 800 team all season long. But the Bruins are a very good team. Just it's time to accept that. When it comes to shot attempt differential, they rank 11th in the NHL. In terms of expected goals for, this is at 5-on-5. They rank, 9th in the NHL. They're really getting some success when it comes to scoring 5-on-5 as well as goaltending. They do have a PDO of 1.03, which is second in the NHL. So yes, there will be some regression at some point. They will take a step or two backwards. We can expect some losses to come at some point, but overall, this is a very good team, and there's reason to believe the Bruins can indeed compete for the Stanley Cup. On tomorrow's episode, we're going to update the Atlantic Division power rankings. Coming up, we'll take a look at the week ahead and what is next for the Bruins. This episode is brought to you in part by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to hockey, basketball, soccer, and esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those as well at BetOnline. They're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. You can head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. So the Boston Bruins took care of business against Buffalo and Vancouver here on the weekend. They now have a few days off before returning to action. In fact, today they have a full day off. No practices scheduled for Monday, November 14th. They get to stay home, spend some time with family, and will be back on the ice for practice tomorrow in advance of their next game, which will be Thursday against the Philadelphia Flyers. Off Friday, then back in action on Saturday against the Chicago Blackhawks. That is the immediate week ahead for the Bruins. And those are two pretty winnable games for the Bruins. Right now, the Blackhawks rank 21st in the NHL with 21 points, record of 6-5-3, so 6 wins, 8 losses, -5 goal differential. Philadelphia 7-6-2, a -6 goal differential. Both teams outside of the playoff picture in their respective divisions and conferences. Although Chicago, surprisingly, only 1 point out of a wildcard spot in the West behind Minnesota. So 2 very winnable games for the Bruins, a real chance to go 16-2 before heading out on the road, where they will travel to Florida to play the Lightning and the Panthers next week, followed by a Black Friday game against the Carolina Hurricanes. After that, they'll play Tampa, Colorado, Vegas at home, and then go on the road to play Colorado, Arizona, and Vegas. So some very difficult games coming up for the Bruins. And again, just to be realistic here, the Bruins will not remain an .875 team. They're not going to win 87% of their games all season long. But what's encouraging is they're getting the goals. They are getting the goaltending at the moment. Hopefully Jeremy Swayman can come back to stabilize things in net, although Keith Kinkaid played very well against Buffalo. Don't be surprised if the Bruins start to suffer some bumps in the road, especially towards the end of the month and to begin December. But for this week, with the 2 games on tap, very winnable games, and I'd be surprised if they do drop against either Philadelphia or Chicago. All right, that's it for this Monday episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. Consider yourselves officially caught up on all things Spoke to Be. Of course, the Mitchell Miller situation still hanging over this team. There have been no announcements in terms of anybody being let go. Cam Neely said they were going to do some internal assessments about their vetting process. Miller still remains under contract. Larry Brooks of the New York Post reported over the weekend that it's likely they've told Miller to just go home. He remains under contract. They're paying him, and they'll probably buy him out after this season. So he's going to be under contract for the season. Bruins paying him to not play hockey at the moment, and still no real consequences in terms of anybody being held accountable for that decision. Anyways, that's all the latest, my friends. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. I wasn't feeling great, so kind of took it easy. I did see Black Panther, Wakanda Forever with our two oldest. A bit long, a bit wordy at times, but packed an emotional punch for sure. And definitely worth seeing for the new bad guy in this movie, who was sensational. Also some incredible performances in this movie as well. Watched a bit of The Crown, White Lotus last night. Was hoping to watch Yellowstone, but wasn't available up here on Prime until next week, so I'll catch that at a later date. But that's it. Take so much care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.